1. And we're live.
mAng and Neads Show. What it is. We are here. You're there. Wednesday, the 29th. Sonic Garden Radio live.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the mAng and Neads Show live on Sonic Gardens Radio. Here in the studio, in our Sonic Garden studio in Norwich, New York. We are running a daily update, playing Sonic Gardens music, banter, and some daily topics. So this is our 45th day straight. Any new listeners, people just tuning in for the first time, please hit subscribe. And, opening song here, Shaka, performing a rehearsal version of Scarlet Begonias. And going to the main desk here in our studio, Mr. Joshua.
Well, glad to see everybody today.
Yeah.
How is you?
Here we are, man. Another day.
How are you? Pretty good?
Yeah, I'm doing good.
Huh.
What was I gonna say? Oh
I
man,
don't
I had
know,
a
actually.
my I didn't tell you that I let my dog out for like 2 minutes out back.
Oh boy.
Comes
I have a
in
story
and I
for
just
you.
smell skunk, man.
Oh,
I'm like, what
no.
the hell? Not even any real way a skunk I don't think really can get in the yard.
Oh, they're elusive creatures.
Yeah, I
They
guess
climb
make
right
it.
up over that wall, man, like
Yeah.
it's nothing.
But it wasn't like intense. It
claws
wasn't
to
like
die
it
for.
wasn't intense.
I mean,
it was
it
just
smelled enough to smell it, right?
Yeah, so I
Ugh.
gave him a bath. It was like midnight.
Oh, it was a night doer.
Yeah, and I'm like, I can't just let him go to bed.
Right.
I don't
Should have had
know.
your son give him a bath. Life lesson.
Yeah.
Oh. Mowgli, we're outside the other night, like at midnight around, right? And I hear this fucked up noise over, I don't know, but it sounded like it was further away. So I'm outside and Mowgli's wandering a little bit onto the other yard, like, and he's over there fucking around. See, I have a flashlight around his neck so you can see where he's at. So you know where he's at. I was getting some kindling. And then all of a sudden I hear him bark, like when he sees somebody and he does that bark at you when he sees you.
Right.
He does that
Growl.
bark. Yeah, he growls, but he barks too, like, and then does a does a 4-step to you. Well, I heard that and I'm like, what the fuck? So I knew something was over there. So I headed over there. And then he's like just sniffing like an area. And he's just standing there sniffing it. And he wouldn't come. And I got over by him. And then he ran by me and headed towards the house. So I got over there. I get inside and I shine a light on him. He's got 2 fucking quills right in his snout, man.
Oh,
He got lucky.
just 2.
Yeah.
You got those babies out?
Oh yeah.
Little pliers.
Oh yeah. He didn't want to. He was ready to. He didn't want nothing to do with it. He got lucky. They weren't in very far either.
Yeah.
Such a majestic creature he is. Just 2 quills.
2 quills.
Yeah,
Lucked out.
I looked in his mouth and stuff, but there was none in there. Thank the doggy.
So we had some awesome, somebody forwarded, and I saw some info on Facebook that our good friend and the man who joins us for most of these shows,
Who's
Mr.
that?
Ryan Warner.
Oh boy, what do you do now?
He got himself on the Binghamton News.
Oh boy.
And in a
Yeah.
positive way. And I thought maybe we could watch this video.
Nothing like that Binghamton News.
And I'm sure.
My dad was on there a year or two ago.
Yeah.
You know
right.
that? My dad
We
was
should
on
pull
there.
that up, too, 'cause
Yeah.
that was sweet. That was a huge amount of views,
Oh,
man.
yeah. You fucking A, it was. He was on there just singing down there at Walmart before they got rid of the greeters down there and everywhere, every Walmart. That was mighty white of him. So what's the Warner video look like?
Well, let me
Do
tell
you have it?
I sure do.
Oh. I was wondering.
Let's try to see if I can make it full screen. All right. Give me just a moment here.
Yeah.
So, again, anybody out there that we're looking to get 1,000 subscribers. So if anybody can hit that subscribe button. If you're just tuning in, we're going to be playing some music. We're going to be having some banter and, talk about some different topics and stuff. Anybody wants to call in, we had a hotline. We do have one. Number is at the bottom of the screen, 607-373-HEAT, 4328. And, if we don't answer right away, maybe we'll call you back. And, all right, so right up here, cut this one over. All right. Pulling this up from the Binghamton, New York site.
Oh, really? They're going to have it?
Wait a minute. Oops, wrong one. Figures.
Yeah?
They got me.
Oh, boy.
They got me.
It was a mAng and Neads show, and they got them.
Oh, here we are.
Oh.
I'm going to have to pull this back a little bit.
Let's take a look at this fucking guy. All right. There it is.
All right, there he is. You guys don't get to see him in live and in person
as
much.
Really?
But here he is right on the screen, Mr.
Is there any
Mr. Ryan Warner, full screen.
No,
it's coming. It's coming. Hold on a second. I haven't started it yet. I was just prepping it. All right, we're going to turn that up for you.
I got some...
Yep, I'm going to get that. Son of a bitch. You know.
Oh, no.
I did that yesterday, too. I'm the juggler.
Was it you got Warner paused out there? He looks like he's getting ready for...
Yeah, he is. That's what I'm saying. We're giving him some...
it!
Here we go. Let's watch this.
Pucker lips.
Listening to the mAng and Neads Show on Sonic Gardens Radio. And we're just giving some tribute to not only Peterson's Tavern in this article, but to our good friend Ryan Warner, who did the art, part of this mAng and Neads Show, and the Sonic Gardens crew.
Yeah, there he is again.
All right, here we go.
For a lot of the victims of COVID-19, nurses are going to be the last people that any of these victims are going to see. And I think it's going to be a big burden to bear.
A public display of art is paying tribute to some frontline workers of the coronavirus pandemic. The windows of Peterson's Tavern show a healthcare worker dressed like Superman. 12 News reporter Annie Flaherty spoke with the artist behind the paintings. Annie?
Good morning. Ryan Warner has painted many murals on the bay windows of Peterson's, but his latest piece of work hits home for the whole community. It honors today's heroes, healthcare workers. At the gateway to downtown Binghamton sits Peterson's Tavern. Known for its food and drinks, the bar also celebrates art, displaying it for everyone to see.
They truly have the right idea of artwork and what it means, and if it's not for the people, then who's it for?
The paintings in the front windows are always changing, thanks to local artist Ryan Warner. He painted Martin Luther King Jr. for Black History Month, and when Kobe Bryant passed away, a tribute to him and his daughter.
As things were happening in our community, or really obviously nationwide or globally, he was coming in and kind of adjusting it to that.
So when the coronavirus pandemic became a reality in the U.S., Warner continued to do what he does best.
Giving people just a sense of normality in this time, and one of those things was to keep painting the windows.
His most recent piece, honoring healthcare workers.
It's the traditional scene of Superman ripping his shirt open, except it's ripping open scrubs in a lab coat with a stethoscope.
Painted as a superhero, Warner hopes his art will draw attention to the fact these workers are putting others first.
They don't have protection. They don't have superpowers. I mean, they have the PPE, and that's been an issue. So I think it's almost more important to recognize that they have no more immunity to this disease than you or I. Yet they're on the front lines every day.
While the purpose of windows is to let light in, these ones are helping frontline workers shine.
The painting, and there's a lot of people to see healthcare in a different light, and hopefully they continue to.
A big thank you, quite literally painted on a busy street.
Petersons and the community and myself, we just want every healthcare worker to know that that's how we feel, that they are superheroes to us.
Because not all heroes wear capes, some are dressed in scrubs. Warner says the mural took about 3 to 4 hours of planning and 10 hours to actually paint. Back to you guys.
All right.
Oh yeah.
Back to you, Josh.
Yeah, Warner. He how many rehearsals do you think he had?
I think he nailed it.
Oh really? You think he just did it right on the get-go? They edited it.
They probably maybe they
took the best parts out.
They might have
right? They edited it totally.
The best parts. I'm sure there was some extra, right?
Yeah, there's definitely extra.
He might have.
Warner's long.
They took the short story.
Yeah, you're not kidding me with this. There's no way that he just said that all perfect timing. That was a long story they cut down. I'd like to know how long it really was.
We need their editors.
Yeah, we need to talk to their editors. See if they can do a live version of that. Cut it down a little bit.
Nice. No, that is awesome, man.
Yeah.
Awesome job, Ryan.
You did a good job.
You got to call us in. I hope you're listening out there and you can give us a shout. That was cool. And we got your face up there, man.
Oh, yeah.
You see that?
Old pucker.
Yeah,
he looked like he was just puckering.
Looks like he's all ready to go with his Skype setup or whatever that takes. Oh, yeah. I'm going to call him on.
Yeah, he's been working for that one porn site.
I think I can call him from my MacBook on FaceTime.
He's got a different. He runs a Samsung. But his phone? No, but his iPad, right? Yeah.
That's probably what he may.
Oh, yeah.
Who knows? Who knows? I'm sure he does, but I'm going to drill him. I'm actually going to hit him up when he gets in because I know that I have FaceTime on my on my MacBook.
Yeah, you do.
And I got a camera, so why not?
Right.
Yeah, so that was good. The other so what else? What do you got going on? What's the latest in Georgia? Has it's funny because a couple days ago
they're booming, right? Business is booming.
Yeah, well they people are out.
Jobs?
I don't know. Yeah, no, I mean all the barbers and the manicures and all that stuff.
They're doing it safely. Safely. Everything's safe until someone has it.
Right. They're trying.
In there, you know what I mean?
They're definitely trying. Yeah.
Everything. It's yeah, man.
Yep, there it is.
What happened?
Just the fact that I have it.
So when are we going back to? When's everybody going back out to infect everybody? I think I saw something about what's the one in California? Disney Land.
Yeah, California's Disneyland.
Yeah, I saw
Disney
that they're not going to
World.
reopen that until January 2021.
Oh yeah.
Yes, that's what I saw.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well.
I saw. What about your buddy there, Mike Pence?
Not wearing the mask.
What do you think?
Man.
It don't matter, right? Or what do you think?
You know what I think is it kind of gives.
He gets tested every 6 days. We've
that's
found
true.
out.
Okay, so that is true. But what it is that it allows.
They're wasting tests on these fucking.
This is what I think is it gives a little. Let me just share this. That I think it gives a little bit of light into his inner. The way that he his real belief. If you ask him about his belief of it, is just like everything else in his life, it comes down to God. So he's just gonna say, like, I'm either like his whole thing. I don't know if it's easy to explain.
Oh, it's got to be.
But like his whole thing was that he was told what the rules were, you know? Hold on a second. I got Warner calling in.
Oh boy.
He wants to join in on this one. He might be able to help me explain himself after I've seen how he you know.
Right.
You're live on the mAng and Neads Show.
What up?
Yo, can you hear us?
You can't.
Yeah, I can hear
good.
you.
What about Josh?
I can't hear him.
Must be my lucky day, man. I can't hear anything.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well,
What the fuck?
what about
Well,
now,
I'm
Josh?
hammered. I'm hammered drunk because I've already started playing the old boy here we go game.
We got
hammered drunk.
We were laughing at you before.
Wasted.
No, man, that was you did a good job on that interview. That was awesome.
Thanks, man. It was nerve wracking, man. Because since you know what we're talking, it's the same thing you guys were joking about. That's what I was thinking ahead of time. I'm like, oh man, you know, I'm just gonna start rambling, and she's gonna think I'm crazy.
Fucking A. You did.
No, man, I think you nailed it. You
He
probably
thinks you nailed it.
you got your thoughts together and you said
bud.
exactly what you wanted to. It was I thought it was excellent.
Thanks, man. Yeah, there was definitely a lot more.
Yeah. So.
But I talked about my mom and stuff like that. She was a nurse.
They cut all that
yeah.
out.
Find your mom. But you know, they can only fit so much in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they-
What'd you do?
It was cool. The whole thing. She just called me and it was FaceTime.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
She video
is that,
messaged me on Facebook Messenger, and it was 10 minutes long.
That's what I was going to say is that I can call you right now on that through my MacBook, and you'd be on the big screen. I can do.
Oh,
that.
you already played it?
Yeah.
the video?
I played
oh,
your
we
video,
played
yeah.
the video.
We kind of opened right after the intro.
Yeah.
Why did you want to do?
You gotta watch the
your
video.
face in the corner of the corner.
I had it on, and I heard, or when I turned it on, it was. I didn't think I missed that much of it.
You must have missed your still shot.
It was Josh complaining about something, so I wasn't listening. And I was like, guys.
It was only. I mean, the video was like, the video's like 2.5 minutes. But yeah.
Right.
But we got it out there for our
listeners. They cut your 10-minute interview down to 2.5.
It was good. Good stuff.
Right?
Yeah.
No, he's right here. I had to bring him down to you because. Sorry, I had to
get it together over there.
Child transportation.
Yeah. Yeah. Wheel him around.
But yeah, I don't know. No, you were supposed to get him.
Oh.
Telling me.
Yeah. You need to put cardboard on the stairs and start sending your son down like it's a luge.
No, it's just a normal thing. Like it's there's protocol. Like you're not supposed to drop him off unless he's already peed and like he's set to go. You know what I mean? You got to set your next person up for success, sort of thing. So can't send him in there from a nap without taking a pee first, because then he just
He's napping.
Nature calls, man. Nature calls, bro.
He's napping today. Just getting done with the nap? Jesus.
Yeah, we're on a late.
Late?
We're on a late schedule.
Yeah. Fucking A.
I like the sun to have been up for a while before we wake up.
Oh. Warm it up a little bit so it's not so chilly out?
Yeah, for me anyway.
Right? Yeah.
That's what worked well about working at Sonic Gardens, man. I'd come and watch the practice, and it would end at like, what time did you guys end? Midnight?
Yeah, like 11, but everybody be clearing out midnight. And just be like,
dude fest.
And then I just stick around and do some painting.
Yeah. Got some good stuff. I actually was I sent myself an image of that the lion that I had taken. It was cool. Like I have a picture where my daughter was laying on a couch, and it was kind of cool that it kind of showed the size. Like, cuz sometimes you take a picture and you can't really tell, but you put something in there that like a human, and all of a sudden you're like, "Oh, that like it yeah." So she's like laying on a couch looking at her phone or whatever, but it's like, yeah.
Hell yeah.
Picture.
I've still got a bunch of footage of the time lapse. I took a time lapse of that whole thing.
Oh, why don't you send it over so we can play it on the show?
I don't know how. It's got to be edited. I bit off more than I could chew. I bought a new camera. Well, not a new camera, but a nice camera. I should have just done it all on my iPad because they have apps for that. But the camera requires some intelligence.
Dude,
I tried to.
This is a brand new camera?
It's a Sony.
How old
Alpha.
though? How long ago did you get it? Just a couple weeks ago?
No,
I've had it a couple years.
Is that what you brought out on the trip?
Yeah, I don't know if I did.
Oh.
Alpha 600.
I don't fucking
Sony
know.
Alpha 600. It's like a beginner model, but it shoots things in like RAW. I don't know if that's what happened with the time lapse, but there's like a setting. I mean, it's a mathematical work. I don't know if you guys do time lapses, but the exposure. This is a cool thing, actually. You know how when you see the time lapse of the roads at night with the brake lights and headlights?
Yeah.
Yep.
And there's swings.
Yeah.
So
the lines?
There's two different ways to do a time lapse, and one is it's you take a video and speed it up, or you take individual photos, and just play them in rapid succession.
Right.
But if every photo is crisp, like let's say you're taking a high speed click of traffic, those brake lights aren't gonna blur because it's gonna be like a high speed photo. When you click those together, it looks choppy, right? Yeah. So it's like because it's a bunch of still frames. But with a camera, you can set the exposure length to add some blur. So things that don't move, like the painting, can't move. It's on a wall. But my arm moves, and it gets into a whole thing. My hand moves faster than my arm.
Right.
And my head moves a little bit. My body moves, not as much. So when you play the time lapse that I have shot on this camera, they're all the exposure or whatever, the length of light. I don't know how it works, man. But anyway, it's a longer exposure.
Next level photography for
my hand. Right. So my hand will always be blurry. So basically my hand is like the brake lights, the sweeping thing. And then you see this. So when the time lapse plays through, the lion stays the same the whole time, and just things add to it. And yeah, I've got wizard arms. It's just like a blurry arms, and it's
the lion.
But the painting stays. Like a stroke of paint doesn't move. It's there. It's solid. And I'm transparent a lot of times, man. It's pretty crazy, man. It made me think about time travel. To tell you the truth, watching it, but that's a tough one to get into with Josh in the room.
Time travel here.
But anyway, do you have some footage
time
of that? And I just don't know what to do with it, man. The files are so big. I can't get them off my, I have to get a bigger device to get them off my card and put them on or something. I don't know, man. If you know, Ange, or maybe Nate knows.
Yeah, you just have to decide where you want to, because they're obviously on the camera. You got to decide what you want to use as
where
a program.
Where you want to put it.
Like a program.
iPad. I just use the iMovie. I think it's great.
Oh, on the iPad, so you can just.
But I don't even know if I can do that. I don't know if this. I think that might be for novel things.
Well, no, you could do it. It's just that
definitely can do it.
You need to get a means to transfer. You'd need a way to transfer from your camera to the iPad, which it's only got the one port. So you need.
Yeah, because I have that. I have the adapter to where you put a mini SD card.
Okay.
Adapter. Okay. And then that plugs in like a charger, but that only takes photos. And I guess I could take the photos one by one.
Oh.
But there's thousands.
Yeah. Well, they have huge card. Actually, I have a card down here that would hold it. It'd be the larger gigs, 128 gig or something like that.
It's the size of the card.
Yeah, you get and then they increase just price wise. It's you can get a 16 gig card for $10, but then you want a 32.
Right. Well, this is a 64 gig, 64 GB.
So that holds quite a bit. Even video would hold a little bit.
You should do
so
it.
It's not
get the footage.
A couple hours
on make a video.
But actually, if they're really high, I don't know if I don't
You're
know
gonna
how
put
that
some
works.
music to it.
Yeah, man, that's because I had big dreams for it, man. Because it is one of the best paintings I've done. It really is, man. It's just the size of it alone.
The lion in here.
And the lion. Yeah, it's fucking big, is right. Yeah, You know what I mean? And
Even
normally
when
I don't
I
get to
stand next
revisit
to it-
places I paint murals that big.
When
They're
I
get
stand
to, like,
next
yeah.
to
in
it,
businesses
it's
or
fucking huge.
in people's
still.
homes.
It's a big boy.
Yeah, I've been working on.
Maybe that's our first sleep music thing we put together.
Right.
Ooh,
Ooh,
man.
Is
time-lapse.
we do it.
Tell
with the
people about
lion.
that, man. Tell people about that. That is. I was talking to Stacy about it last night, right around 10 o'clock. I was like, how cool would it be to
okay.
tune into Sonic Gardens radio and have this happen?
Well, Sonic Gardens, I always have different stuff I'm thinking of doing down here. And something that came to mind was that running a sleep music show from about like 11 p.m. to 5 or 6 a.m. And it would be broadcast live.
And uncut.
So we'd get live viewers, and we'd actually attract some more subscribers. But the reason why I thought of it was because, one, Chris can create the most amazing music, and literally sleep music, like not music that's like heavy progressions that are like keeping you alert, but music that actually like calms your inner being, and you can sleep to it
Like a fan.
Like a fan. So some people use fans.
Yeah.
Some people have those alarm clocks they
We
came
can-
out with that have the setting.
Don't
for
get
like,
me started.
and then other
Let's have a
people-
story from Warner.
And some people put on YouTube and look up sleep music, as myself, and there is endless, amounts of it. They even get into frequency sleep, where it's like if you sleep under a certain frequency, it helps to, alleviate stress or help with, whatever these things are. And that's been, evaluated or.
That's what Josh does with the
smarter
fan.
people
That's
than me.
a frequency
Right,
thing.
like fan is like the OG version, or like people that are like, I cannot sleep without a fan. But anyway, like I'm saying, you
like
got
a
the
thumb
sleep.
sucking frequency.
So
I
thought a
use
great
a
way to
fan.
put, and then these sleep music channels, they get a lot of people that tune in, and believe it or
Oh.
not, they actually comment, which you'd think they wouldn't be commenting if they're
yeah,
trying
so
to
they're
sleep.
not sleeping then.
But
they're fucked up.
But these things will run and they put imagery over them. So a
Ooh.
lot of times it'll just be like a mountain, and then it fades to this, whether it's pictures, then you get into different things. Then it might be artwork. But yeah, so that's what I was thinking was
Everybody loves
incorporating
different things.
Sonic Gardens with the music, with all the amazing art, and especially like so starting to put together like something like that where we can make episodes. They'd be
Yeah,
pre-recorded. They'd be pre-recorded, but they would run live and possibly on a loop. So like maybe you're talking 6 hours of
So
continuous
two people
stuff.
could have like a conversation with each other live over your platform.
Right.
Someone could be like, I really like the part where it does this. And I'd be like, hey, I like that part too, Jane.
Yeah, exactly. And that's how that is. That's the way
That's
the
cool.
live work is. So we're not even like we'd be sleeping most likely. Not like we're gonna sit up all night doing
You
it
get a good
live.
15-minute
But,
video of Josh fluffing his mullet in a fan,
Right?
just over and over,
Yeah.
with some
With
nice,
some beautiful music.
some nice 80s Nelson ballad guitar, piano. No vocals though.
Right.
Or the Black Beauty theme song. That's a good one.
I could run.
It's about a horse.
So yeah, so I
It's about a horse, Josh.
talked to Chris about it, and he's down because that's like his whole life anyway. He actually would probably sit up all night and just play music.
I was gonna say, when you said you were gonna do
it.
it live, I was like, I wouldn't put it past Chris to, he's like, I gotta go to work.
8
Gonna be
hours.
playing till 6 a.m. I'd start it earlier though, man. People play that stuff for their kids.
Well, yeah. Well, at the same time, as soon as they're done being live, they would go into the catalog, and you'd be able to just look up any of them, and they'd become their own thing anyway, which would
Right.
not necessarily be for sleeping. It could be just for dinner time music or background, or you know what I mean.
I
So
listen
it
to
still
Chris's thing.
becomes-
I've got him on. He puts the camera right on the edge of the piano.
Yeah.
And once you watch one of his videos, it'll take you in a loop and it'll play the rest of them.
Oh, nice.
So I did that just the other day, and a lot of times it'll happen. No, it's it's Facebook.
Yeah.
That's a good
Yeah,
one.
but I think they're great, man. I once because you and I talked about it yesterday, and then I went on my hike, and it's all I thought about because it opens up so much. Like, we could go around taking videos. I used to do it. Josh got a good one. Was it you that had the video of the ocean, the waves crashing and then pulling back and then crashing again?
Yeah, I
probably
got
me.
What?
It's such a great idea. It was probably me.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, I could
did it?
I could take something like that and turn it into a, hours long loop in no time. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, but we could find things, you know what I mean? Because you think, like, when you're talking about, like, the clouds rolling over the mountains, that's, yeah, man. I thought about a lot of it, man, because there's so many things, and that's the idea of it, is to have less thoughts in your mind, so strip it down so it's not so complex. Like,
right.
That's why it just, ends up with nature. But when we were out yesterday, it was everywhere, man. It's like everything is things that you can see, like looking through the trees and just branches blowing. They're barely moving, but they're moving.
Such a beautiful day it was.
Real simple.
Yeah.
But yeah,
and even something cool, even something to make it kind of cool, because it would carry like a theme, would be like every video, maybe like we could like imagine starting it. So the video starts with more detail, like something that, like you said, you're trying to clear your mind. So it might start though with like a, like I said, the lapse time of painting the lion, and then after that's complete, then the imagery, fades into less,
fades into black.
Something that you need to be attentive to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Something that's
like de-escalating.
Yeah.
Like, but see, Chris could do that with his music too. You know what I mean? Like, he could put a little pep in it, just a little bit in the beginning, and then just slowly, take it out to where it's.
Yep.
The big.
No, that's great, man. That's great. I think that's going to be something for sure.
See, when we were doing the audio show, Chris was sitting in, and even when we started this, but then he got stuck in another city,
another dimension.
But that was something that was that music that was part of it. So we would actually clip from like recordings to banter, and then to Chris taking it away with just a lullaby for the people on the spot, some loop, whether.
And it's so celestial, like the way he does it, man. It makes you think about, like, it's like not even earthly. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't. It just makes me think about just. It's wild what he does, man.
Yeah, and
it's like a score.
So like even I'll listen to some of the old shows from a couple of years ago, and there'll just be some golden moments where that was the one time, and it's like it's not I haven't really listened to it in a long time, and it's the only place you're gonna hear that one little clip of what he's playing for 2 minutes on a hour-long podcast, but it's like little pieces of gold hidden in there.
Fucking hey, man.
Nothing like a little gold.
And silver.
Silver and gold.
Things to come at Sonic Gardens.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my idea, anybody out there, is that, we got the, the whole focus is live music and recording live bands. But, at the same time, we're trying to build this channel through our radio show, a place to broadcast the music that we record.
Build it up.
And, have a place also to, what it's turned in here is a place where we can all gather and, during these times and whatever, banter about the stuff going on. Jessica Caputo says that you're a bitch. Hell yeah. That's Paisan.
Yeah, it is.
Caputo. We
fucking Corona Caputo.
Our people. We all come from the same little island in Italy.
Oh yeah.
Oh really? That's what Paisan is? I thought that was derogatory.
Well, come on.
No, friends, like friends, family.
Your favorite
funny.
90s TV show.
Every time I hear it being said, it's almost like the way we say asshole in like a friendly way. It's like, hey, you son of a bitch. You know what I mean? Like, hey,
No, I don't think.
Because it's like, paisan, and they do that, like,
no,
they shake
it's like,
their fingers
I
at
think
him
it's
and
like,
shit.
it's like brother, friend.
Friend of a brother.
Gotcha. It makes sense because that's the same thing. If you call someone a son of a bitch, you
Right.
better be their fucking friend.
Or know their mother.
Or know their mother.
Yeah, it's gonna get or it's gonna get weird.
That's good stuff.
Yeah, I'm trying to look this up, man.
What?
Before we get off the topic of the
What?
Well, Scribbles of Dave, man, Dave Russo.
All right.
Did you see the cartoon he made?
Nope. I didn't.
Him and his daughter,
Yeah.
or stepdaughter, they made a stop motion, I think, cartoon. And what this guy does, his name's Dave Russo, and he's a marker. He's not a marker artist, but he uses markers.
Right.
And he makes all these big, thick, squiggly lines, like just these crazy scribbles, and they get thick and thin, like the thickness of the line changes all the time. And then he goes back and he outlines these lines with like a real thin tip black marker. And like, because of the opacity of the marker, like if you do multiple layers, it's like darker in some spots. So he highlights the shadows and this and that. And he makes these crazy images, and he sells posters on tour. Does tons of artwork, but he also sells posters on Fish Tour. So he'll do members of the band. He'll do he'll do a cityscape that looks like it's made out of ribbons of this crazy drawn. He's just great, man. And you see it once, and you'll recognize it. You see one of his paintings or his pieces of work, and 2 months later, if you see one hung up in a restaurant, you'll be like, that's that guy. That's that guy that did that thing. And that's like that's the height of success as an artist, is to be that recognizable and unique. And he's got it. So what he's done is he did those little scribble drawings and made a kid's cartoon short of, it's called We Have a Giant Problem, or We Have a Giant Problem. But it's actually, the book is about a giant.
Right.
And like building houses out of trees, and then people test his capacity, and he can make more and more by request, and then people get greedy, and the whole thing plays out. But I'm trying to find it, man, because if you can play
it says Dave Russo is a comedian. It says Boston comedian.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Is that the guy?
No, I'm also a professional wrestler podcast host.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, you are.
RyanWarner.net. Like, I still have the email address, but I stopped using the website. Somebody bought it. And so now when I send someone my email, it gives them a link to RyanWarner.net.
Yeah.
And it's a pro wrestling podcast.
Fucking A.
It's a podcast about pro wrestling. Or maybe it's real wrestling. I don't know. I don't know.
Scribbles of Dave. Scribbles of Dave.
Scribbles of Dave.
What do you want to know about him? You find him, man?
He wants me to pull up the giant.
Yeah.
Is it called Giant Problem? Is it like a name?
Yeah, we've got a giant problem, or we have a giant problem.
Huh.
It's on. Can I send it to your messenger? It's going to be on my.
Sure.
I have so many fans. It's just I have to scroll for days on my Facebook, to get through all these posts of admiration.
Sure. Send it to me.
Right, they're happy for you.
There we go. Ding dong. No, maybe not. That's something else.
Is it the hand-drawn animation? The magical forest and things? Right there, Ange.
There it is, yeah.
You got it, Ange?
Where, right on his page?
Right on his, go right to his web page.
Oh, the web.
Yeah, it says...
Scribbles of Dave.
Yeah,
right,
hit it, go right to it, and then it's right there. You see it?
I'm a little slower than you, I guess.
There it is.
I mean, there's a popular galleries, and then right below it is the video.
I just don't have the website about. If I go to the about, there it is.
Well, I don't.
HHTP Scribbles of Dave.
Dave.
I just sent it to your messenger.
Big D.
Cool guy too, man.
Yeah, he is cool.
All right, so you want me to play this?
Yeah, we'll just play it.
Hold on, let me pull it back up. I got you guys closed down.
Oh well, how would you do that? You could just mute us and look at us.
I'm gonna put Josh
All right, I'm ready.
Right over in the corner.
Put me in the corner.
Ooh, you got the owl out.
Oh yeah.
All right, there he is.
Yeah.
And
We do have the owl out,
yeah,
Warner.
that's your owl
Yeah.
on the corner.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
That's a good piece of work. Oh, orange eyes.
And we are spinning.
We are?
Spinning.
What'd you do?
This is the story of the magical forest, and the trees, and the turkeys, and the things. But then...
Don't spoil the story. How about just the magic forest?
Magical forest, and the things.
What's magical about it?
The forest and the things.
But-
That's why they call it the magical forest
Got it.
and the things. The magic forest had magic apple trees, and magic chocolate trees, and magic turkeys, and that's what the people ate. And there are also dog trees, and that's what the dogs ate. And the turkeys ate the turkey trees, and sometimes even cut down a tree and make a house out of it. One day, the people in the woods were helping each other collect apples, and turkeys, and wood, and I found a
Emmett?
giant...
A giant what?
Just a giant!
Oh, right.
And the giant said, "Hi." And the people said, "Hi, don't step on us." And the giant said, "Okay." And then he helped them get a tree for the house. It was so easy, so he got them 2 trees. And the house was extra big because 2 trees. And everyone high-fived them. And then the other people wanted a big house too. And so they asked him for 3 trees. And he did it. And then people gave them high fives. One family asked for a house made from 50, 100 trees. So all of the toys could each have their own room. And the dog had its own room. And so did the cat and the hermit crab. Everyone wanted to give that person a high five. No one wanted little houses anymore. And the giant was building houses all day long. And he used all the trees near the people. And then he had to walk really far away to get more trees. And they planted more food trees, but baby trees take a really long time to become grown-up trees. Hungry people started stealing food from each other, and everyone was arguing a lot. There were only a few trees left in the whole forest. And the people asked, "Who did this?" And someone said, "The giant did it." They told the giant to stop killing the trees, and he did not listen. And they made a sign that said, "Save the trees!" But the giant ignored the sign. And the people went out to the last trees of the forest and yelled and screamed and stood in the way. But the giant was walking towards them, and they were afraid that they were going to get small.
You guys want cauliflower or broccoli with dinner?
Mom, we're making a movie.
Cauliflower it is.
Finally, one little kid found out how to save the trees. It was personal responsibility. Responsibility?
No,
Responsibility?
Let's.
We are killing the trees. And everyone said, "What?" We keep telling him to build huge houses. And so the family who's getting the next house asked the giant just to build them a normal house with 1 tree. And the giant just took 1 tree and made them a small house. They were sad to have the smallest house, but then everyone gave them a high five. And then the next people who needed a house did the same thing. And then everyone gave them high fives too. Suddenly, everyone wanted a small house. The family with the huge house made from 50, 100 trees felt really silly and let a whole bunch of people move in with them. The hermit crab had to share a room with the dog and cats, but they all high-fived. And there were still magical apples and dog food, cat food, and chocolate. And the baby trees grew up, and now there's plenty of trees. And now the giant has time to dig wells and make spaceships. And that's the story of the magical forest and the things. The end.
Aww. What a cute story that one was.
That was a good one.
It was beautiful.
That kid did good.
Right?
Yeah.
And the same thing happened like while I was watching that we talk about. Like I couldn't watch it because I was wondering what you guys are thinking. But the good thing is Josh would never say anything bad about Dave.
Yeah.
If that was my video playing, he'd be like, "Oh, this fucking guy. Here we go." But I knew it'd be silent time, man.
Oh, it was cute. That was but it was on
What?
Yeah, like I guess how would you break it down? You know, it's like
No, it was good.
it's just good.
It was a good story.
It's
was
a
even-
kid's story.
There was even a moral to it.
There was.
Yeah. The reason I brought it up.
But the whole high
It's about
fiving
not
thing.
needing more. It's about not striving to have the biggest house. You know what I was thinking about is all these big houses. You know,
Yeah.
like you're saying, Ryan, you live in a big house.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
I'm in a big house, and I got 2 people, and then you got 3 people. It's just weird, you know, like
You
the
guys are
size of
weirdos.
house. But no, I mean,
it's irresponsible, man.
Yeah.
It
it's
is.
not.
And then you
no,
find things
it's
to fill the rooms.
irresponsible, more personally, like financially, like definitely like waste, but like heating a house that big, you know, caring for it, upkeep, you know, maintenance, all the ideas of remodeling and all the you know, all that stuff.
Well, Warner, he's a remodeler from way back.
Well, you
Oh my
know,
God.
if things were like and I just realized, you know, it's like if things are more simple and complete and there isn't a bunch of
You still
work
got
to be
that
done.
wood from for your barn in your basement?
I do, man. We built a half floor under the shelter.
Oh.
Just
Who
to
did?
get it off the ground.
You and your
'cause water
father?
was a problem. So that's got a nice floor in it. But yeah, no, I still got all that wood, man.
Huh. You and your
But
dad
yeah, I
built
can't.
it?
That's why Josh's saying I can't remodel shit, man. It's not. My dad didn't do me any favors by like my dad could do anything.
Yeah,
And you guys were kind of talking about it yesterday or one of the other days about your like something about our parents. But what I took away from it was my idea that your priorities change. Like what would be important to my dad 30 years ago, he doesn't care about now.
Right.
Like let's say trim. You know, I'd be worried about putting the trimmer on my dad. Be like, shit, no one's gonna look at that, man. Where
Right.
30 years ago, you know,
You
it's
had
gotta
to have
be,
that trim on.
right. It's got to be perfect. You
Right.
know? Dale Warner loves the trim.
Yeah. he
And
does.
yeah,
Not in his old
it's,
age.
it's the same thing, man. My brother-in-law was talking about it, about lattice work. Like in Vermont, you're
Ooh.
supposed to, like, if you're a real carpenter, you weave your own lattice work out of strips of
Right.
wood. You know what I mean? It's just what you do. And because people can tell the difference between the plastic
Yeah.
lattice work and the store-bought Home Depot lattice work, and it's like, oh, you know, oh, I see, you got the pre-made stuff. Oh, okay. So anyway, 30 years go by, and you know, my brother-in-law was talking to his dad about it, and he's like, yeah, well, I still got to do the lattice work, and that's going to take a week. And Dad's like, are you shitting me? Go buy it at Home Depot, you know? And then my brother-in-law's like, wait a minute, you're the one that stressed that shit. It's like, are you kidding me? He's like, forget about it. You know what I mean? Because you're doing your life's work when you're younger, and then when you're older, you realize you wasted your time trying to make everything perfect, and you didn't get half the shit done you wanted to.
Right.
And but Josh, I just talked to my dad like 2 days ago and brought up that his eagle eye.
Oh, Jesus
So
Christ.
for the listeners
Whew.
out there, Josh came and helped us install a ceiling, to put a new ceiling in my shop. And it's pretty simple. We're just running boards vertically,
Well, that was a
across the
feat in
ceiling.
itself.
And we had to make a couple cutouts for lights. And
There
so
we
my dad, you know, he measured it out. He's like, all right, this will be, you know, took the tape out. And he's the one running the show. And then he makes a cut, and it doesn't quite make it. He needs to cut off like a quarter of an inch just so the light fixture would fit inside of it. And he gets a jigsaw out, wow, and he cuts like the most oblong shape,
Oh,
like it was not
man.
even a circle anymore. And I mean, it looks like a fucking egg, and you could fit 2 light bulbs in it. And of course, I have to let that shit ride or slide because I can't really do it on my own. So if you want help, you can't really complain about it. So. But then you got Josh, and for the first time ever, just like I, you know, help you and team up on him on the podcast, Josh was on my side teaming up on my dad for the first time ever, like my dad being outnumbered, and holy shit, it was one of the funniest days. It was Josh in his prime, and he ripped into my dad in just the funniest ways, like not being mean or overpowering or anything like that, but he just had my dad laughing all day.
Just tickling.
But well, he wanted to keep it. We put that thing up there, and I'm like, Dad's like, it'll be fine. Just Josh, why don't you zip it up in that end, and you know, I'll screw it on this end. And Josh's like, what are you? He's like, is this a joke? He's like, is this some kind of?
So I put it up
comic
there
routine?
for him. And they both are just looking at it. Just
Oh yeah, it was. You
just
know, and I
looking
didn't
at
know
it.
what to say. My dad's like, yeah, okay, good. Just drill it up. There we go. Let's cut the next board. You know, and Josh's like, no. He's like, you can't. He's like, what? You're gonna let this happen? And I'm just like, Dad, am I gonna let this happen? And then Josh just ridiculed him into submission. And really, he's like, how does anyone call themselves a carpenter when you're going to do that? But that's basically like, so I now own the house that I grew up in that my dad built and, has since moved away. And I didn't know how hard it was. He just changed all the rooms, man. All these walls have been knocked down and put back up, and the bathroom's been in all these different spots. And he's done so much remodeling. And I just thought it'd kind of be easy because it seemed easy when he was doing it, Oh, the stairs are a little rotten. I'll just put a whole new set of stairs in, no problem, and he just does it. Oh my God, man. Josh had to come fix one of my stairs, I didn't fix it. I just didn't fix it, so I had like a trap back stairs, It was alternative, so it's not everyone had to use it anyway, but Josh fixed that. But yeah, man, it's hard.
Dangerous.
It's hard to the maintenance, the upkeep, man, to just to keep a place. Like, you learn that preventative measures are real. I didn't take my canopy down in time. Got snowed on one time, like an ice storm or whatever, and lost that. Nice backyard canopy gone because I'm fucking lazy.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, but yeah, Josh, man, we were talking about that yesterday, and it was funny, man. He just laughs just bringing it up. I'm like, old eagle eye. Yeah. And eventually he cut the boards to so many wrong lengths. He couldn't measure for shit.
Yeah.
Or he couldn't, I don't know if he couldn't remember it, couldn't read it, didn't care. He's like, we're just throwing it up there.
Him and Warren got into it about a measurement, and then
5 3/8, man. Yeah. I still didn't forget.
Shit. And then I got on his dad's side just to fuck with Warner.
And I try to convince my dad, all right, listen, this is the last thing I'll say. We're measuring a board, and it measured 5 3/8, and Dad took it and read the tape measure out, marked it, because I just said 5 3/8 to him, and so he took the tape measure, marked it, went outside, cut it, and it was short or long or whatever it was. Short. It's probably short because it wasn't as simple as just cutting more off. So my dad starts giving me shit. And he's like, you said, 5 and whatever 16ths. And I was like, I wouldn't even count down to the 16ths. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even know how to do that. Right? And I'm like, I'm telling you what I said. He's like, oh, I know what you said and whatever. But it was off by more than a 16th. It was something. But I was just like, no, I know what I said. But Josh, the little shit, he took my dad's side just because. And I try to tell him, see, Josh heard it. I'm like, no. This is not going to happen. And I look at Josh, and Josh is laughing because all he had to do was be like, you did say 5 3/8. And I was like, oh my God. It was, talk about knowing how to get a rise out of somebody. I almost jumped out of my seat. And my dad's like, see, God damn it. And I'm like, no, motherfucker. Yeah. I'm like, he's just saying that, because he wants, my dad's like, oh, it's a conspiracy theory. Oh, he wants, Josh wants you to be wrong so bad that he's going to lie about it. I'm like, yes. I'm like, that is what's good, Oh my God. And Josh is looking at me like he knows, but I couldn't convince my dad. He's like, no, he agrees with me because I'm right. That's why. He knows when to pick the times, but it didn't take long, man. My dad ran the chops off for another probably half hour.
Old Diamond Dale.
And then he got, Diamond Dale. And then he got, he was, once we started losing boards, like it wasn't as easy as just trimming a little more off. Like once we started not being able to use boards.
Saw.
Kicked him off the saw. That's hard. That's hard for a 70-year-old man.
We had a fun day that day. We had fun. We had a hell of a day.
It really was, man.
Yeah.
Holy shit. I got to find out how to take a clip of this show. If I could just take from this minute mark to this minute mark and send it to him, he'd shit himself.
Yeah, he would.
Mary, I was on TV.
Shit.
Download the app Screen Recorder.
Old Screen Recorder himself.
And then you just then you can just watch the show and you just swipe up, hit record, and then
You're shitting me.
And then you just easily edit that in even within the iPad, or you could put it in iMovie and just trim out the ends.
Trim it out, Warner.
It had to be that easy. I'm old, man. I'm telling you what, dude. I'm so.
Well, you're younger than
Emma
us.
is gonna look at me like a.
You're
he's 10.
younger than both of us.
Jesus, Dad. Tell me more about the Civil War.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
What
Trust
the
me,
fuck?
my son's 14, so you know.
Is that how you know? Like, does he
Stuff?
help you keep up to date with shit
You
like
want
that?
to know what? I got my MacBook when he was young, and all I really used it for was making like Lego movies and stuff with him. Like that was my
Yeah.
big thing with it.
That's what's up.
Yeah. Angela's a Lego.
But it was hard work.
Movie
man.
director.
Like trying to do like the
Stop motion, right?
motion stuff.
Fuck.
And we'd try, but you know, I failed. But I'd make whatever. It's a lot of work.
Screen recorder app.
Yeah, just look it up.
Something like
Screen recorder, and then there's probably a bunch of them, but the one I have is called, I think, Screen Recorder.
It's a beaut.
Record it.
Record it.
That's what I got.
You find
that
it,
what it
Warner?
And
Jesus
what's
Christ, I can't even spell record.
He's out there fucking. He's discovering.
yeah, and then you can put a shortcut on it, so you do that like swipe up thing, and there's just a
Yep,
button,
that's yep.
and you hit record.
I always do it by accident. I learn I have all these things because I do it by mistake, and I wonder if Apple's that smart.
Oh.
And it's like, well, you know, the kid's going to drag his finger across the screen from right to left. Eventually, he's
figure
going to
it
find
out.
the toolbar on the side.
Yeah. He found the toolbox. Maybe he can find the toolbar.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Well, what do you got?
Well, but anyway,
for us?
that's so. I wanted to tell you about Dave because I think that if we, right on that, if we screen record a little segment, like you were saying, like the rats in New York City, that would be a perfect person to animate it.
Right.
Oh.
You know, and if he was cool with it, because we're, you know what I mean, like, I think we're edgy enough or different enough or whatever. Like, we're not lame, but I don't know.
You reach out to him. He
it's-
likes you a lot.
Yeah, I think that, and then
He's
but
cool
we
as
would
shit.
take advantage of his like notoriety in the fact that if he did some cool, if we actually got some content worth recording or doing a little cartoon of, and then make it a
Little
segment. You know what I mean? Like we can play last week's whatever cartoon, like Dave Russo's or Scribbles of Dave conversation. And then people could, you know, we could ask them to call in and be like, you know, what part, you know, what one do you want to see animated or whatever? And it's got to be, you know, but can you imagine his scribbly version of Josh?
That'd be great.
yeah.
Oh, dude.
He does
I
those
think it really
he's
would
good
be,
with the
man.
self-portrait things, right?
I want to give him one of like me busting Josh's balls hard and give him the breakdown, like explaining what he looks like and what he's wearing and how he walks and everything, and then just have Dave like drawing it like as it happens. It's end up looking like Shaggy. Like I imagine walking like, oh, I think it would be.
He knows what I
I
look
think it'd
like.
be great. Yeah, exactly.
He hasn't seen the mullet though. You tell him to give me the
We
mullet.
should just
Send him a clip.
trim it up right. We should just pick on Josh and tell stories at his expense and have him defend himself, and then animate them.
I don't defend myself
Because I don't want to be in it.
Because I think they're funny. We'll just pick on you then.
That's what I mean. I don't.
Oh, you gotta
I'm
be
too
in it.
sensitive. I'm too sensitive.
No, we gotta be able to do your little shape up you wear there, like it's like homegrown shape up, whatever that hairdo is you wear. They call.
So I grew it out. It's all
I
gone.
don't know. All we could tell. What happened?
Yeah. I grew out my.
Oh, I saw you
my-
on the video. I couldn't tell. I guess
My hairline. Yeah, it's all long.
you were
man.
puckering
I haven't-
up. We had like a still shot of you. You were puckering.
I saw it without the volume on. Thank you for that, man. I thought you played it in like the little corner, but you played the full
man.
screen.
You're big
I
time
didn't-
here. They seen me.
No, that was cool, man.
Yeah, you got the full screen.
No
effect.
problem. Yeah, that was awesome. I saw it on Facebook today. I think Pat
Right on,
Sales shared it.
Oh, the great knowledgeable one.
Yeah, I even told him. I made a comment, Josh. He's like, whatever. He's the best or whatever. I'm like, you're just saying that because I can't beat you at hoops.
Huh.
Old Pat Sales. Like,
Couldn't get him, huh?
no,
Huh?
no, but that's okay. Didn't hurt
Yeah.
my feelings.
Right. Well, you were young probably when you played him.
Yeah, he was young when I played him.
Well, yeah, but you.
I might have a shot.
You were
That's
way
what he keeps
younger.
telling me. I might have a shot now.
Right.
But there's a thing, like, for the listeners out there, I was always good at basketball, and so I meet Pat Sales, who's a little older than me, taller, athletic, and we're working on the road and we're having a regular conversation. He's bragging and he's cocky.
Oh, yeah.
I'm cocky, but he's real cocky.
Right.
And he looked at me like I was nothing. He's like, whatever, you can't do this, you can't do that. And I'm like, oh. So we argued at work for a while, and then when we got on the court, he just, there's nothing I could do. He smoked me, man. And but you have respect for people like that, man. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't hate it.
Right.
I was like, man, because I'm not bad. He was just better,
Right.
And but yeah, so he deserves that one, man. I like it when people are better than me at things, man, because they deserve it.
Right.
Yeah.
They deserve it.
Can't be the best at everything,
Nope.
Right, man. And if you can't recognize when people are better than you, man, you got a problem.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, they deserve it. They work harder or whatever it is, man. Even if they're fucking born with it.
Born with
it's
it.
Just that's what gets me about people that don't like good musicians. They just won't. Because of some reason they just, like, I'm not talking about Jack Johnson and shit like that. Like, there's reasons people don't like them, but
he's talking
people
about
that just won't
Toad
like
the Wet
other magicians
Sprocket.
because they're musicians. Or
right,
artists
like-
or anything.
Yeah, that's
They got a problem with everybody.
Right.
They're the Donald Trumps of music.
What do they call that?
You talk about how good someone is, and they're
Critics.
like, "Oh, what about I'm?"
well.
What
there's-
about me?
Yeah, there's two ways. Like, you can like criticize that. Like, yeah, I get it. There's the whole there is a factor in the music world, and that is that it was hijacked by like things like American Idol, some 15 years ago, 20 years ago, where it like became even, more of a talent show. And then all the people that like some of the highest sold records in the world are from American Idol. And it just seems like, there's good singers and even musicians that came out of that. But for the most part, it's like a manufactured band.
Like the Beatles.
Yeah, there's a formula.
No, more like the Monkees.
Oh,
The
right.
Monkees
The
were like
Monkees.
kind of created to
Right.
The Beatles.
counteract the Beatles. The Beatles were at
They're
least
just to
like
ride on their coattails.
legit guys on, trying new stuff,
Right.
and they did
They
did
put
some
them
good
together,
stuff.
though.
They did.
So
Oh,
who
you
put
like
them
this.
together?
There's-
The guy? No, I think they knew each other.
Oh, the Beatles?
Yeah, they all met from Liverpool or wherever they come from. And
John
it was like-
Lennon met Paul McCartney when they were teenagers
Yeah.
at boarding school, but they didn't go to the same school, I don't think. And then
Huh.
they were in a band for a while, and then it just progressed from there. But I know that John was hot shit, and Paul McCartney was like super fucking talented. And John Lennon was like that guy. He didn't want to like Paul McCartney. He's like, man, maybe we'll give you a call. Maybe you can be in our band. I don't know. And Paul's kind of a nerd. That's what
That's the
you know,
story. Yeah.
That's the
an awful lot about the
after
Beatles.
school special TV movie that I watched about the Beatles.
Huh.
No, but so American Idol, there's a
Singer?
God, I don't know what they're called, but anyway, my friends that do this, it wasn't really a podcast, but they posted videos and stuff like that.
Ooh.
But they used to do the American Idol transitions of, you get all the kids, like when it first started out, they'd take regular looking people, and as they advanced, they'd start putting more gel in their hair and get a haircut.
Oh.
And then they'd get the outfits. And then they started doing the interviews, and they had like a bunch of bracelets and rings, and they were turned into like just normal looking everyday rock stars, as
Fucking A,
they've
man.
always looked, like the dude from
Motley Crue.
well, you know what I mean, like more I can't
They were rock stars, the Motley Crue.
2000s, like 2000s rock
They got
stars, you know what I mean, like
fucked
the
up. Oh, Jesus.
spiked hair,
Good Charlotte, like that? Like
kinda good.
what's
Charlotte's
the
a
other?
little edgy.
Papa Roach.
But anyway, but they would do it to like sad music, to like sad Sarah McLachlan, and they would show the images of these kids as
Wait,
they
is that
went.
like the ASPCA commercial? The Sarah McLachlan
yeah,
you're
and
talking
it
about?
went these
Oh,
kids
man.
looking like normal people to like just mediocre rock stars.
Oh.
But what American Idol thought was glitz and glam, and you're gonna be a big star, and it just played it with sad music, and it really was it was true, man. It's like, oh, that is sad. Ew. Look what's happening to him. Is that a fucking scarf? Like, what is going on?
Like, what are they doing? And then-
Transformation.
Teddy
It's
from
like,
Indiana is wearing a scarf and a tight-fitting jean jacket.
Right.
It's like kids
He's got a
today,
butt
they're like,
plug
oh, I
in.
want to get a tattoo on my face because it'll look cool. Like, they don't have any real
Wait,
message.
who said that?
Like, that's like,
That's not why they get it. They lost a bet or something. No one get face tattoo.
I'm telling you.
Huh.
Dude, half the reason it's
And
my
they'll
theory
say
about
it,
Trump
like-
supporters too. Tattoos are the same. Makes people think other people are gonna perceive them differently and more
Yeah, they want
opposing.
my favorite is when people that have them, they want to show them off to each other. You see
Oh
them.
my god.
Shit. I don't have any.
No tats?
No tats for Josh.
And you got tattoos?
Oh, yeah, he does.
I got one tattoo.
What do you have?
He had some guy with a hot hammer.
It's kind of hard to show it.
But they give you, what do they call that? Where they hit the hammer and the ink and they tattoo you that way?
There we go.
what's your tattoo represent?
Dude, my tattoo's cool.
Oh. That's what everyone
Give it a
says.
couple seconds.
Everyone says that.
Just looking at Josh, giving a head to that mic. Man, you like touching that thing, don't you? You put something like that in front of Josh's face, man.
Alright,
You
you
just,
see it, bro?
Fuck today,
has
you
to
like
do it.
that? It's like, woo.
Did you see it, Warner?
not yet.
Yeah, head popped up.
That's our next drinking game. We should drink every time Josh touches a mic.
I don't like getting too close. There it
Dude,
is.
you
Look
like
at
it to
that.
touch your face.
Looks like a rock coming through water. Fucking A. What is it? Tell us what it means.
It's still
I just
up
got it. It just arrived.
still looking at Josh and his puka shell necklace. What is that thing?
You like that?
I used to have one. What are
So
those
I-
little
I,
bone segments?
Yeah, this is probably that old.
I just got it. I got this tattoo a few years ago. It was the first tattoo I ever got, and I got it as a reminder because it's
Oh.
on my wrist. Like where you'd have like a
Yeah,
watch.
how dumb you are for getting one, or
No, it's like just a.
Jesus Christ.
well, it
It's
was
a
a
little
good
reminder.
setup. It was a good setup. He set me up. He knows I was just kidding, but yeah.
It was a good. It's a reminder to be here now. It is. I actually looked it up. Like what be here now? The symbol of it.
They have a symbol for that.
And
Oh, Jesus Christ. I'm
so,
watching
yeah.
20 minutes ago.
yeah, you're
Oh,
way
sorry.
back.
What?
Yeah,
Fast forward.
I was way back.
You know you can skip ahead.
I was like, when is this going to pop up, man?
They make
How
a
long is
live
the delay?
version.
How long is the delay? Yeah, Josh was on. He said because he's on the same delay.
Yeah,
he's watching.
pulled it up. I wanted to see the
All right,
tab.
show it again, man. You're just popping it up on your screen. It should only be
Oh,
like
you
a
want-
5-second delay.
Well, it's hard to do it. At the
It's
right
hard
See,
for
that's a
that.
big theme now. I mean, especially with Duncan Trussell, and like I started listening to other stuff after that. But that is a huge,
There's
over multi different disciplines, I guess you'd call it. But be here, be present. Be
Right.
here now. It's really.
Yeah,
I
be
get it,
present. I just put it back up for you.
present.
But it's basically
Oh, yeah.
Oh
a
yeah.
drop. Like a drop of water hitting the ripple.
Yeah,
and then
going
showing
right through is a rock.
like a reflection. That's a reflection
Oh.
of it.
Oh.
Man, remember that was going to be the original mural? A drop in the
Oh,
water.
that's
but we
right, yeah.
Skew the water line. Oh.
That was yep, but we didn't want people passing out
So
from,
rad. So rad.
from
Being too
disassociation.
present.
Some deep shit we're in.
Well, it's one of those things, just a reminder, that everything, the moment will pass. Whether
Right. Everything comes to an
good or
end.
bad, youthfulness, sorrow, you
No
name
one-
it. Everything passes
No one gets out alive.
eventually.
Yep. This too
So-
shall pass, man. That's
Yeah.
okay, go. That's the end of that one song.
Yeah.
They turn it into a mantra. They just say it 15 times.
Well, that comes from a one of those what do they call them? Stories, old stories.
Fairy tale?
It's about the king that
Parables?
parable. Yeah, there you go.
What
he
was it?
goes to
Smurfs?
well, he goes the king guy goes to the village and he tells all the religious guys, to beat it, something like that. And then they say they won't, And he goes down there and he's like, all right, I'm going to kill you guys unless you can give me something that every time I look at will make me feel better. You know?
Huh.
And so after a while, they came back and they gave him a ring, and he's like, what's this ring going to do? And they said, look at the engraving, and the engraving said, this too shall pass.
Ooh.
That's
yeah.
deep.
It wasn't told very good. Not parable style. But hey, that was the story, the basics.
Well, the first
Back
time I
to the
saw
basics.
that phrase, I was in art school, and I struggled in art school, man. I have not. I don't
What
really
part
belong
of
in
it, though?
art school.
What
I
part
don't
of
have
it?
the mind for it. You know what I mean? Like if I was a
Right.
musician, I would be able to cover songs, but I'd never be able to write my own songs. Right?
Right.
I have trouble coming up with my own imagery. I can copy imagery and do portraits and stuff like that in my own style, but whatever. And that's like a thing of art school. And I realized that when I saw this girl's sculpture. We were in it was 3-dimensional something, but we were doing metal welding. And I did like a large scale interpretation of a belt, right? I made a sculpture out of a belt, and it was whatever. But what she did was a big bird cage. And because it was done out of iron rod or steel rod, it looked pretty imposing. Like it was a sad looking cage, with the welds on it and everything. And inside of it were mirrors shining. They're all different sizes, like small ones and big ones. They were all in the cage, and scratched on each mirror said, "This too shall pass."
Ooh.
And it blew my fucking mind. And I realized, again, this is what I was just talking about. I'm like, the last thing I'm going to do is be like, oh, well, she thinks she's all cool because she makes this, I was like, wow, like you really just made.
Wow.
Wow. When you're looking at it, it's your face. You're in the cage. You know what I mean? Like your face, you see a picture of your face in the cage.
Right. All broken up though.
Yeah. And you're behind the bars and you are in the cage. But it's your perception. I mean, you're seeing a reflection of yourself. You're not really in the cage. You just think you're in the cage. And the scribe on it, this too shall pass. Like when you stop looking at yourself and then you realize that you're looking in a mirror and you can see the surface of the mirror, then you can focus on the scratch that's, which is hard to see. And you're like, this too shall pass. And you're like, wait a minute, I'm not even in this fucking cage. You know what I mean? It was heavy for art school and for another student, and she wasn't that talented either, man. At least I thought, because she couldn't paint and draw,
right,
and all those things. So I just kind of felt bad for her a little bit.
She had ideas,
but then I realized why she was there. She had that brain. So whenever I hear that, man, I still that was in 2099, and I still think about it every time someone says it. It was that powerful, bro.
Back when you had
powerful to me.
You had a live-in girlfriend back then?
No, man. I lived with Eric Marabito.
Ooh. Keegs? Yeah.
Yeah, we had, when I went to school, we lived in the hockey team got kicked out of their house.
Ooh.
In Utica.
And they brought you
right
three
down
misfits
on Barrett
in?
Street, right in the hood of Utica. The hockey team got kicked out of their house, and no one wanted to move in because it was a bad neighborhood. And it was cheap. So me and Eric and a couple other kids got the house super cheap. And that's where we lived.
That's where all the magic happened.
Yeah, that's where the magic happened.
Fucking A.
So anyway.
Well.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna play a song, guys.
Ooh, you have a
played
song
much music
for us
in a while.
Right.
I didn't mean not to cut you off either.
Oh,
Ryan,
no.
But I
we
figured
got into Warner's video, and then we played that other thing was cool as fuck too.
Jessica did mention a while ago that she would love to get involved with the Pick on Josh run.
Oh boy, old fucking Corona Caputo down there in the city.
She can't.
Well, you should remind people. Even though I'm on the phone, I'm not on. I'm on a private line. I'm not on the hotline.
Right.
So people can still call.
Oh yeah, they can.
That's right. The call-in line is open still.
Warner calls all the private lines.
607-373 HEAT.
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 with a H.
That's right.
Heat.
That comes out to 4328.
Not meat.
People that like numbers. In the meantime, if anybody does want to call in, we're going to play a song.
That was
and when
one of
we
your
come
hits,
back
huh,
out,
Warner?
That would be great.
In the meantime, Everclear. Who sang it?
Oh, yeah.
Drinking
So,
this coffee and there's none in there.
I'm going to give you guys a Shaka version of Eddie Murphy's Red Lights.
All right. It's a good one.
Red light,
This is the mAng and Neads Show live on Sonic Gardens Radio. And we're here for our 45th day straight of
4 or 5.
Updating the world with what's going on in
Flashback.
In Norwich, New York. And
highlight of the year.
The minds of me and Uwa. And Ryan, too. He's still
we
there
still
with
got
us,
Ryan?
His phone's on.
Uh-oh. He might.
What?
He set it down.
He set it down. He'll be back.
He'll be back.
Here.
The world with what's going on.
There he is. We hear him echoing.
Yeah. The song just ended. I had the mute on.
Oh,
nice. Good song, man.
Quality.
Yeah. Version. Yeah, man. We're lucky we got that recording out because
now
the
heat is on
this
is
stuff
playing
all over. Oh yeah, that's right. When the heat is on. We played that yesterday.
Yeah. Girl, I wanna make you sweat.
I did have another video.
I got off the air and I almost called you back. You could definitely jam right into that song and it would be great, man. Girl, I wanna make you sweat.
Yeah, it would be a great one.
All right.
Oh, no one would see it coming, man.
We'll have to incorporate that when we get back at it.
Oh, Nate could sing that fucking great too.
Nice.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, okay, so Ryan, have you seen this video, so-called banned video from these two Californian doctors that are they got their the hoax, that it's all a hoax thing?
It was all
they
a
have the
hoax.
clinic?
Yeah.
Are they part of the urgent care clinic?
They're is that what it is? It's something in Berkeley, California.
Who banned them?
I don't know, but the whole thing is it's obviously not banned, but they kind of like put it out there as banned, and it says banned video.
Yeah,
and
they did it to get your attention, that part of it.
Right.
Yeah, it's a good catch.
I was thinking we could pull this one up in
pull it up.
Josh's corner.
Yeah, you're the
in your corner
to my
here.
left over here.
Yeah, I'm gonna play this video, and I just wanna, I guess we'll get a little takedown on what we think. I've not seen it all, but
I haven't seen it either.
So I won't give any like opinion whatsoever.
All right,
I don't know what their affiliation is or what, but this is a.
We'll listen to it and then we'll attack them.
We'll see what's up. All right.
Yeah, can't say the same for Josh. He already thinks it's stupid.
Oh wow, that is still playing.
Banned video.
Yeah, playing a video in my ear.
Ah, shit.
Oh, shit. Where are we?
Oh, fuck it.
All right. Suckers.
Banned.
For COVID-19.
That's where Trump got the word from. He watched this video.
Owners of
Banned.
Accelerated Urgent Care in Bakersfield, California, held a press conference to share their data along with official CDC data.
There we go.
Dr. Erickson reported that hospitals in California have become empty as a result of allotting all resources to the COVID-19 pandemic.
The hospitals, their ICUs are empty, essentially, and they're shutting down floors, they're furloughing patients, they're furloughing doctors, because we just don't have the volume. So we're busy with paperwork for COVID, and we're all focusing on COVID.
He then went over the COVID-19 numbers for the state of California.
We've seen 1,227 deaths in the state of California. That means you have a 0.03 chance of dying from COVID-19 in the state of California.
And for the state of New York,
19,410 out of 19 million people, which is a 0.1% chance of dying from COVID in the state of New York.
All right, so I just want to say that they kicked this off by saying that this guy was, getting to give you data from his hospital. The only thing he shared so far about anything direct knowledge is that so-called the hospitals he's at are empty and that they're, dismissing everything.
Well, fuck.
So then he goes on to just read off statistics that are, available to anyone. Just my opinion.
And then compared these numbers to the seasonal flu in 2017.
45 million total cases in 2017 with about 62,000 deaths, or a 0.13 chance of death from flu.
You weren't locked down for the flu, though, you motherfucker.
of COVID-19 is much less.
He then went on to report what is happening as a result of the shutdown and millions of hardworking people losing their jobs.
Child molestation is increasing at a severe rate. We could go over multiple cases
That's
of
the
children
first one he's
who have
gonna
been
put out there.
molested due to angry family members who are intoxicated, who are home, who have no paycheck. These things last a lifetime.
Is this
isn't
guy really a
seasonal
fucking
flu.
doctor?
These are things that will follow these people and affect them in a negative fashion for their life. And these are for me talking to ERs, talking to my doctors, and talking to people across the country and finding out what they're seeing. Spousal abuse, alcoholism, anxiety, depression, suicide.
One of the most interesting moments of the press conference was when Dr. Erickson went on to explain the immune complex and how our immune system regularly adapts to our environment.
The immune system is built by exposure to antigens, viruses, bacteria. When you're a little child crawling on the ground, putting stuff in your mouth, viruses and bacteria come in, you form an antigen antibody complex.
Haven't all of our pediatricians told us that? It's true.
Human beings.
Elementary. Sorry, doesn't prove you're a doctor.
Lysol them down. You're going to kill 99% of viruses and bacteria. Wear a mask. Don't go outside. What does that do to our immune system? Our immune system is used to touching. We share bacteria, staphylococcus,
overwhelming.
viruses.
It's about
We develop an
overwhelming.
immune response daily to this stuff. When you take that away from me, my immune system drops. As I shelter in place, my immune system drops. You keep me there for months, it drops more. Sheltering in place decreases your immune system. And then as we all come out of shelter in place with a lower immune system and start trading viruses and bacteria, what do you think is going to happen? Disease is going to spike. And then you've got disease spike amongst a hospital system with furloughed doctors.
He
and
does the
nurses.
Trump hands thing.
Erickson reported
Maybe
that
the
he's
disease
been
will
in
be a
contact
hoax.
with leading
It
physicians
spikes.
throughout California, and that they are all in agreement.
And I've been working with some of the leaders, and I've talked to, the head of the CDPH. I've gotten their opinion on this, and a lot of the leaders in Sacramento, and we're all in agreement. But we need to have Governor Newsom in agreement with us to lift this ban, because the data is showing us it's time to lift. So if we don't lift, what is the reason?
For Infowars.com, this is Greg Reese.
What the fuck?
Infowars. Infowars.
Oh, that's the best that they nailed it with Infowars. I told you I did not know that was Infowars. That was like
They are the bottom of the barrel, man. They make Fox News look like NPR.
Well, that's our boy, man. Yeah.
What in the fuck,
good
Angelo?
Wait, Epoch Times is part of that?
I don't think so.
Dude.
No.
That was the worst, stupid, one-sided bullshit fucking argument. That was the. Are you fucking kidding me? They couldn't even throw in one good piece of they bottom side loaded that fucker up. What the
That's what they
fuck?
do.
He quoted the one source from what was it, the California CDHC or something he said, but he didn't give a name.
No, because he don't fucking know. He
Yeah, just
wasn't
an
no
acronym.
Doctor Angelo.
People are supposed to confuse it and think he said CDC. My thing with that is where he's trying to use a disease. Like, what's going to happen when our immune system goes down? Disease is going to spread. Well, how are you going to treat that disease? You know what I mean? Like, we are in the middle of a disease right now, and you're trying to tell us that it's no big deal.
Yeah, and then
you know
they compare them
but
numbers.
then you're threatening us with another disease. Like, we're supposed to think that whatever comes next is gonna be dangerous. You know what I mean? It's like, don't threaten us with something that you're telling us is not to be taken seriously.
Right.
It's like, it's so convoluted, man. It really is. Infowars. Wow.
Who the fuck are they? Wow.
That would be like Josh taking my advice on who to bring with him on tour.
Yeah.
For help.
Yeah, well.
You got to learn, man.
Yeah, got to learn someday, Joshua.
Yep.
Whew. Yeah,
That'd be a good animated story.
Yeah, that
Josh learning.
Yep.
Josh learning stuff.
I'm a fast learner sometimes.
Well, no offense. This is just the name of the show. But have you seen the show Idiot Abroad?
Who you
ever
talking
hear about it?
No.
Idiot Abroad.
Both of us.
We've neither seen it.
Well, it's I think like Simon Pegg produced it or something like that. It's a comedy show.
Right.
But these guys have their friend, and it would be like I don't know. Not that he's eccentric. This guy is an idiot. But they send him to all these different places and then just see how he gets along, see how he makes it out in the real world, idiot abroad. I think it'd be funny, since I've witnessed it, just to send Josh through to all these different cultures and watch his reaction to how people eat scorpions and everything like that. Because he'll try it. Right, Josh? You'd try a scorpion if everyone else is eating one.
If it's cooked, right?
Is it cooked? On a stick. Cooked on a stick.
Oh, yeah, you know damn well I'd eat one.
Yeah. He's a real when in Rome type of guy.
Yeah.
And, you don't hold back. He's never worried about being polite. He's respectful. There's difference. He's always respectful, but he doesn't care about being polite. Right. He'll be the person that, the lady in the booth next to us is like, excuse me, can you watch the F-bombs? We are at a Chuck E. Cheese right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that shit's crazy, man. But it's whoever shares that type of thing, whoever shares that post and that news, it just tells you more about them than the
we
article.
Just shared it.
Well, then that one, well, we did, but we laughed at it.
All right.
So actually, anybody would second guess it, probably. I guess if they're, hey man, anybody else there wants to say anything?
What do you want to say?
I don't know.
Oh.
Let's see. Wait, I did have
you had something else?
I just had a thought.
Oh.
I couldn't remember.
I
lost it.
No.
That's how quick it happens around here, man.
Yeah. Tell me about it. It's hard to keep any with you two just gabbing.
God forbid you.
Well, you know
God
what?
forbid you talk on a podcast.
The floor is yours. Whatever you got, man. What do you want to tell us?
Yeah, go ahead, Warner.
No, I was talking.
Oh, no, you know he's not talking to me.
Go ahead, Warner.
Oh,
shit is right. Fucking A.
So what do you got?
Hey, we got a call.
We got a phone call. Here we go.
Pick on Josh. Pick on Josh.
No one wants to pick on me.
You're live on the mAng and Neads Show.
Hi, it's Jess Caputo.
Hey.
There she is, the old. Yeah.
Come in and save you. Josh looks like he's struggling.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he's struggling, all right.
Yeah, no, that's how he always looks.
Yeah.
He always makes us think he's bored as hell.
This has been like the most entertaining thing I've seen in 7 weeks of quarantine.
Old quarantine queen down there. There she is.
Oh, thank you so much then for tuning in. 45 days. Crazy.
It's been a good time. I know, it's crazy. Oh, believe me, I'm in like a 600 square foot apartment.
Hey, Hey, I heard they had a little dog down there. Get it. Don't let your dog get it. Yeah.
It's not my son, but I heard that.
Don't let your doggy get it.
They had a tiger in the Bronx Zoo got it.
Yeah, 4 of yeah, fucking A. The tiger.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Josh, I'm so proud of you. Look at you on that screen.
Right?
I would have thought you would have come this far.
Yeah. This is great. Did you see the mullet? We got the mullet out, Jess.
What?
I got the mullet out.
I see.
Yeah.
I see it's out.
Yeah. Took it out for a walk today. Yeah.
Hat back on.
Yeah.
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 I'm kidding. It looks good.
Thank you. Fabulous.
This is a daily show. This is something I can tune into every day.
Oh yeah. You just stumbled upon it? Where's your husband? Your husband down there?
Yeah, he's making tacos.
Oh, what a nice guy. He's a day late, but it's Wednesday.
He's a day late.
Yeah, Taco Tuesday was yesterday.
Who knows?
Yep.
Who knows what day it is?
Oh boy.
Who knows?
You guys are in New York City?
Yeah, we're in Brooklyn.
BK.
How's it going?
A little wild. I mean, it's going. We actually both had corona. We survived. We made it out to the other side.
Yeah.
Nice. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Corona Caputo.
I'm kind of glad we had it, actually.
Oh boy.
Now I'm kind of like, walk outside. I feel a little bit invincible.
Yep.
What was it like?
It was wild.
This is Ryan,
tell us
by
about
the way.
it. There's Ryan. Tell us about it. How was it like?
I mean, we experienced totally different things. Like, I felt like I got hit by a bunch of airbags, and my husband it didn't really affect him that badly, but I could barely move. Mine was, like, debilitating.
Oh.
And it lasted, like, 2 weeks. And, like, you lose all sense of taste and smell. That was weird. That was really weird.
Yeah, they just released that as some additional. That was some insight from all the cases, must be, because that was released as another symptom, was the loss of taste and smell.
Yeah, once I heard that was a symptom, that was like the day that I lost taste and smell, and I was like, oh fuck, I definitely have it. But it took us forever to get tested. It was like a nightmare trying to get tested.
Right.
But I mean, like I said, that was like at the beginning of it, so I think they've kind of got it worked out now. But it was pretty wild. We went to like a drive-through testing site. It looked like an end of the world movie scene. I mean, it was
wow.
I never thought I would ever see anything like this in my life, but it's been pretty crazy. I can't wait to get the fuck out of here.
Well, I have a question for you when I think about that. Would you, now that you've had it, would you rather have coronavirus again or spend 45 days straight with Josh in a recording studio?
Oh my God.
You get 1 day. I'll throw you a bone. You get 1 day. I think Ange got 1 day off.
Yeah.
Mother's Day.
No, and that day I actually missed him.
Definitely get corona again.
It's weird how he does that. Coronavirus again. Bam.
Yeah, bam. Corona for you.
For sure.
Josh does have that effect on it, man. It's like same way I feel about my kid. Like I'll be upset and I'll say something bad, and then when I'm not around, I'm like, man, I miss that little shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I grew up across the street from him for
she did.
the first 19 years of my life, so I get it.
Back before she started
he talks about your dad a lot.
Josh Needham is my godbrother. The
Yeah.
Catholic Church identifies Josh Needham as my godbrother.
God brother.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That is a true fact.
God bless.
Curtis too.
Curtis too.
He's included.
Dirty Curdy.
Dirty Curdy. What's Curtis doing? He hasn't gotten the corona yet? Well, he doesn't leave the house, so
He
he's
doesn't
not
leave
gonna
the
get
couch.
He don't fuck around. He's holding down the couch right now. Curtis Couch is his AKA.
it. He's keeping the couch safe.
Yeah, he don't fuck around.
Hanging out with Mowgli.
Yeah, nah, Mowgli's down here. Mowgli's outside. Mowgli came for a ride today.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Have you talked to your crazy sister lately, or?
Yeah, you know, we FaceTime a couple times a day. She's stuck up on that hill with those two children, so.
Yeah. And Chris. Don't forget about Chris.
Sanity line.
Don't forget about Chris. He's up there too, right?
That's right here.
Oh boy.
She hasn't killed him yet. Or vice versa.
Yeah. Put him in the bottom of that pond.
Yeah, threw him in the pond, exactly.
Yeah. All right.
Exactly. All right, well, listen, I'm going to go eat some tacos.
All right.
That sounded weird.
that sounded real fucking weird. Can the ship
Only
you
on the
running?
Mang and Neads
Yeah.
Show.
Can the ship you running down there?
All right. Thanks for the call.
All right, bye, Kim.
Tell Vic I said hi.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Late. All right.
So we also had I think this is about that video that was created by Ricky Gervais. He produced it.
Yeah, the Idiot Abroad.
Idiot Abroad.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I didn't think he did that video that we showed with the doctors.
No.
Ricky Gervais produced it. It would have been way funnier, man.
He went to work.
Yeah. Oh. That fucking video. Oh, fuck.
Did you remember that one the other day?
Dude, he wasn't even wearing a proper fucking, what do they call?
I don't think you called in that day. The one,
what?
Ryan, the one when I had the guy that was pretending he was in Trump's ear. Did
you
listen to that one?
I did.
Dude, you did? Dude, it's great, isn't it? It's great. Play it again. Fuck it. Play it again.
I watched it. But I didn't watch it live.
The only thing was
when he's like, "That's too much. That's too much. Little not enough. Let's play some music." You know that one?
Yeah.
He's like,
and then they play that '80s song. Fucking A.
He's like, "This is your chance. Now's your chance to tell everybody the right thing," and then he totally blew it.
Yeah.
That's good.
Story of
that
his
was a
life.
good one.
Blowing it.
Man, I can't believe that she had the coronavirus, man.
Yeah.
Just like that.
Yeah.
Well, no, with all these antibody testings, everybody that said it, like Nate Collins said that he could swear that he had it in February.
Me too.
Yeah.
And that's what, and now that stuff's coming out, that it is totally possible based on when it started, when it could have traveled, how
Coulda
quickly
got
it
it.
could have spread, and,
Yeah, I went to the hospital and everything, man. I got,
Well,
I had to
just
get
think,
checked out because
one good
I
thing
had a
about it
cough.
is you didn't die, so that's a good thing.
It was the kind of cough where you couldn't breathe back in until your lungs were like compressed. Like
When was it? What month was this?
I had it for like a month.
Yeah, what
I had
month?
a cough for a month, but I was fine. I got up every day. It got worse at night, and then I had maybe 4 nights tops that I had.
Is it like did it burn in chest?
Nope.
Oh.
No, it didn't hurt. The only thing that hurt was my rib muscles. Like I would have some like fits at night where I'd cough, and it's the kind where once you cough, it's like when an old man
the COVID
laughs.
cough. Yeah, it's that burning little
It's
fucking
like,
nagging. Yeah.
And then you can't breathe back
Emphysema.
in until your lungs are empty, and it's like when you throw up, like you wanna like your tongue is sticking out, you just threw everything
man.
up, but you can't. Like your body's still squeezing.
Right. You're
and
hanging
you gotta,
on
like,
to
deal
fucking
with it. You can't breathe in
rug
because your body's like
underneath the
contracting.
toilet, and you're fucking sweating.
I almost
like
passed
a
out a couple
motherfucker.
times from coughing.
Jesus.
And
ran out
but-
of air.
Yeah, and I was just spitting up, and they said it was a dry cough or whatever, but there was no, there's no even talk of coronavirus or whatever, but
Right.
yeah, and I was fine, like I was.
Look at you
I
go,
was, I was
man.
cool.
You were on the news even. Just got on the news.
I was even on the
You're
news,
doing good,
but this had to be in February.
Oh.
And it was for a couple weeks, and by the time I went to the hospital,
Couple weeks or a month?
I had to like make it happen. I would just breathe out hard, and you could hear that rattle. And she said it was upper respiratory.
Like you shoved a baby
infection. She
rattle
said I
up
was
his
fine.
ass.
They didn't give me any medication, nothing. And yeah, but that's what I can attest to, and like a lot of people were saying that, like that started coming up even before, like did you have a respiratory infection in February that lasted for a long time? And I'm telling you, this lasted way too long. It was annoying. It wasn't awful. I wasn't bedridden by any means, but yeah. Anyway, that was my thing.
That was his month.
I hope it was coronavirus, man.
Yeah, because you didn't give it to your kid or your parents. See, that's the thing. Like, if it was, you would have gave it to somebody.
South Korea definitely had cases of people testing again positive a second time.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah,
because our bodies, it's a different, like, we don't make antibodies that easily.
When they asked Fauci about that, he said they had to check if it was continue to do that and find out if it's an anomaly or if it's worse.
Yeah.
But yeah, he also warned that a lot of warning about the fall is going to be pretty bad again.
Yeah, but Trump said it's not a problem. He was even making people say it. He's like, tell him it's not going to be a problem in the fall. Go ahead, tell him.
Go ahead, tell him.
I couldn't believe it. He like got the mic for a couple seconds. He's like, now she's going to tell you how it's going to go away in the fall. Go ahead, tell him how it goes away in the fall. Your turn,
Deborah Brooks or Burks or whatever the fuck they call
So my
you.
question is why somebody would
Let's
just
hear it.
Well, I guess I kind of know the answer, but why somebody would just believe like that, and be willing to share that thing we just watched.
Ooh, man.
And
it's like
just because it
politically
aligns
divisive.
and it aligns with your viewpoint.
That's
so
like putting your dick in a blender and saying it's a good idea. That's the stupidest video. That video is fucking.
Yeah, good analogy. Gosh, that didn't.
Dick in a blender.
Yeah.
So go ahead, share that video and stick your dick in a blender.
Fucking A.
Live.
45 days. 45 days.
Yeah.
That's right. Hey,
I'm
everybody out there.
I'm gonna buy you a cake.
We're looking for 1,000 subscribers. Anybody out there that hasn't
We like
done
pie
so,
better.
please do. Hit that like button. Subscribe. You're listening to the mAng and Neads Show on Sonic Gardens Radio.
We want a berry pie. How about a strawberry rhubarb pie, Warner?
Yeah.
I know you're a pie maker.
I could figure something out. It's gonna be a while before we get rhubarb.
Right.
I could put you on the late list.
Yeah. Everything will be maybe running by.
Oh, you guys can hear that, can't you? I always try to sand when I'm on the
Yeah,
phone with you guys.
It fucking sounds like you're ripping someone out of a cardboard box.
All right.
Yeah, I caught it that time.
fuck.
I caught it.
Yeah. Yep.
Shit. Well, I could probably leave you guys to the outro of your show or the second half or whatever it is. It's
Oh, no,
I'm gonna be responsible and be ready for dinner time when it comes.
Yeah.
Do you have you heard of this guy Ticked Off Vic? He's the
Nope.
He's a comedian, but he does these like car recordings and just loses it, dude. Like I sent it to Josh, and now I don't want to play. I want to play it, but he was like he couldn't handle it. He had to turn it off after a minute.
And like
loud in my ears.
But the guy, no, what I like about this guy is when
fuck.
you're watching this video, you think he's gonna die, and he's a comedian, so he's like,
dude,
you think he's gonna just explode.
All right, so I
he's
watched.
So pissed.
I watched for a
I've
few
seen
minutes.
it. I've seen the thumbnail of it. Does he get a beet red face, like gray hair?
Well, he's spit like you
Like yelling
literally
in his
see
driver's
his
seat?
You
spit.
see the spit.
It's
flying.
like I watched it and I'm like,
Eddie,
it just sounds.
Josh doesn't like. Josh doesn't like
man.
spit.
It's too rehearsed.
Yeah, but he's a comedian.
Oh.
But it's too rehearsed for me. Like
but he does different ones every, like it's just a clip, so he does them.
We'll play his
He
clip,
rehearses
then.
them.
Let's
daily.
play it. Let's play it. Play it
since,
so we hear some of it.
I want you to hear this. I want you to hear this one because man, he had me rolling laughing. But the bottom line is that this dude is fucking right on, and it's just opinion.
Right.
So I'm not claiming some like conspiracy fact.
What's
This
this
is
guy's
just,
name? Vic what?
DiBiase. DiBiase. Let's see. All right.
Just an angry guy with a fucking. Or you acting like one? But anyways.
No, I mean, but it's there's the thing about what makes great comedy is that there's always, truth within it that makes it fun, but they're able to, even though, like you said, he's pissed and he's yelling, it's like spit's flying.
Oh,
the
yeah.
act is great, man. It's a great
See,
act.
I thought about that the other day. Someone said it. I think it was Dave Chappelle. But that is what makes comedy, and it kind of bridges the gap between what we were talking about, why there are no Republican comedy shows, but there are dozens of, left-wing comedy shows.
And in a way, because it's like everything that they do comes across as so snarky that they just have to be like the Ben Shapiro or the one is Dennis Miller.
They're like holier than
Dennis
thou.
Miller.
and
What happened to him? He's like Dennis Miller was like the he used to be on-
God, yeah, shit.
And then they put him on Monday Night Football for a year or two, doing in the booth. Yeah.
Did they?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, but he made too many references
I think,
to Greek literature and
he was still he was still popular even within like the Fox until I think the rise of Trump, where I don't think he was like a huge,
on board.
Yeah, I think he was more of a
well, he probably ran out of material. You know what I mean? Because it's I just think like what you were saying. If your joke isn't based in truth, harsh, sometimes hard to handle truth, it's just not funny. It loses it, man. And that's that uplifting quality of comedy, man. If someone can pick on a tragedy and not pick on it, but actually make jokes about it and have them be true, and that's where the whole phrase "too soon." Because it should be funny, but it's too soon for some people.
Right.
But it's real, man. And it's so if you got that, if your jokes are based in the truth, then the comedy is that much more funny because at the end you can turn and be like, yeah, it's fucked up, but it's true.
Right.
Yeah, well, anyway.
Oh boy.
Like you're saying, with that, let me give you
With
this
that
one.
in mind.
With that in mind, listen to this guy because this has me rolling laughing.
All right.
Oh.
Oh, what was that, cocksucker?
Hold on, I had to turn up mine.
What
Both
have you?
of them.
What have you done, Angelo?
I just didn't turn it up. I'm gonna keep you a little bit low so he ain't yelling in your ear. All right.
Yeah, as long as he doesn't spit
All right,
on
here
me.
we go. I enjoyed this.
Come on, Warner.
Fuck does that help, you greedy cocksuckers?
Message to the government from Vic.
Hey, Woody here. What do you say? My Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Google Plus, your sister's ass, the Pony Express. A very ticked off Vic here. You know what ticks me off? Having to tell the government what to do because they have their heads in their asses. Now follow me. There's something that's been bothering me, so I'm just going to say it now. Dear government, we understand that the virus is not your fault. It happened. It is what it is. I'm not going to get into that idea that maybe you could have acted sooner. We can deal with that when this is all over. But here's the deal. We need a real fucking plan. It was the right move to make everyone stay home because that's the only way to deal with a virus like this. But here's where I have a problem. So, you told us to shut down non-essential businesses. You told us to go home and quarantine. You told us we have to keep social distance and stay inside. But you told us you would help. So where is the fucking help? These checks are what they are. I mean, let's be serious. I'm not going to turn away $1,200 because number one, if you're going to give it to me, I'm taking it. And number two, it's our fucking money, not yours. It's ours. We paid that in taxes for everything we do every fucking day. So, okay. Look at the typical family, mortgage payment, healthcare payment, car payments, electric, water, garbage, phone, blah, 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 blah. So maybe the $1,200 covers the mortgage. But what about all the other costs that we have each month? This $1,200 thing isn't doing shit for the normal working family. You want to help? Here's one idea. Tell the fucking banks and mortgage companies to stop all mortgage payments at this time. Just stop them. And don't give me that 3-month furlough bullshit. How does that even make sense? So someone who lost their job because you said to stay at home doesn't pay mortgage for 3 months, but in the 4th month, they have to not only pay that month that's due, but also the 3 months they owed in full because it was furloughed? How the fuck does that help, you greedy cocksuckers? Someone was just unemployed and not earning money for 3 months. They weren't earning money. Hello? Now they just start back to work and all that money magically appears so they can pay the 3 months in a lump sum. How are they fucking paying that? Are you fucking idiots? Look, it almost makes sense that they can start paying the current mortgage due for the month when they go back to work. But they can't pay the prior 3 months. They had no income. So here's the idea. Just add the 3 fucking months of the furlough to the back end of the loan. So if they had, let's say, 19 years and 6 months left in their mortgage, just add the 3 months. So now they have 19 years and 9 months. How fucking hard is that? You'll get your money, you shitbags. It's just delayed. The working stiff wins if you do that. It really helps. It actually helps. And what is up with these banks and lending assholes? I mean, come on. You literally make billions of dollars in profit quarterly. That's every 3 months. The last crash was 10 years ago. So you have 10 years of massive profits and you need a bailout after 2 weeks of a shutdown? How come we, the people, have to save for a rainy day, but you save nothing? Every fucking quarter that you made $3 billion in profit, not income, profit, and all. That means you paid all your salaries and bills and everything you needed to pay to run a company for 3 fucking months. So every time you made $3 billion in a quarter, if you had just put $1 billion in the bank, you'd have $40 billion in the bank after 10 years. That's not even including interest. But no, you greedy cocksuckers have to get bailed out again from our taxpayer money, and then you shit on us by not giving us a real break on our mortgages, credit card bills, or car payments, or anything, and the government allows this. We get fucked. We bail you out, we get fucked. Rinse, lather, repeat. You dirtneck fucking pieces of shit should have had more than enough money to keep paying your workers and give everyone a break in mortgage payments the way I said for the time being. And again, I'm not saying to wipe the slate clean. I'm saying to just add the missing mortgage payment to the back end of everyone's loans. Do it for everything. The car lease is now 3 months longer. The credit card payment is now 3 months longer. The mortgage payment is now 3 months longer. You want to help the American worker, you can eliminate all payments due until this is over. That way, unemployment and stimulus checks would only be needed for food. That is what the American family needs now. That would help us. You greedy cocksuckers and you government lackeys who suck the balls of the big corporations and shit on the people are just as bad. Shame on you all. There could be a real plan in place, a real plan to get people through these next few months, a real plan to be testing, a real plan to allow workers who are considered non-essential to not worry about catching a virus and losing their house. Do you do the right fucking thing, you peckerheads? Having to tell the government what to do because they have their heads in their asses, that's what fucking ticks me off.
Okay. It's tough, man, to listen to a guy, but I swear, man, he was almost dying. That's what, when I watch it, the guy.
Sound like he was choking on his tongue.
That's what I'm saying. He almost literally died. He almost died in that video, man. He gave it all.
Yeah.
He's ticked off.
That's why he's on YouTube.
He's killing it. He's got like 40 million views on that thing. All right. What do you guys want? A song? You got something? Ryan, you still with us?
I think that was. I'm still with you, man. I think that was my time's coming down, but I've never watched that guy because I've seen, so many people post it. I've seen his face. I never watched it all the way through.
And he looks like somebody
man,
that you might not want to listen to.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, I've seen
and
this
you
before.
Don't, but at the same time, he's
Jesus, man, it's all so true. All these big businesses, these huge corporations, they don't save a dollar. And it's good business to reinvest your money. You know what I mean? It really is. Every business. That's what I was saying. Like Amazon and Netflix and all that stuff. If they actually went out of business, if people stopped paying, they wouldn't be able to survive for long either because they reinvest into their own infrastructure. That's why Netflix has the most expensive movies ever made. I think anyway. With the
Will Smith
reason, was in.
The other reason is because there's so much. There's so much. Tax write-off in the reinvestment too. So I mean, not that it's not good, but that's the incentive to I invested, just even with our homes, we get to write off upkeep on our homes and things like that.
What'd you say to him?
When he came upstairs, Emmett came upstairs and I was like, hey, you telling me dinner's ready? And he's like, nope, I'm just coming up to say what's up, So I was like, cool, man, you came up in my studio or whatever. And he's looking through all my stuff. And he's been up here for 15 minutes. And then he just looks at me and shoots me the sideways guns. And he's like, dinner's ready. And then runs downstairs. No one's talked to him in the 15 minutes he's been up here. He didn't just get a message. She didn't send him a text. He's just buying time.
Yeah, he's
like his old man. But no, I have a problem with that, man. How are we expected to save money, when we're asked to buy all this shit to help our economy? You know what I mean? Like we get patted on the back for taking out credit over our heads and car loans and mortgages and whatever.
Right.
But these businesses, they don't have to think about it. And you're right, man. He's right. 2 weeks into it, and they're bleeding. They're hemorrhaging money. They can't stay afloat, and it's $1,200. It's like, you got to be shitting me, man. And that $1,200 all goes to the credit card companies. And if you have a lien, if you owe money, student debt, you know what I mean? It doesn't really go to you. It just helps you pay some of the debt that you owe. But yeah, I like that, man. That really, it's nice hearing someone say it with that much anger as opposed to, someone else explaining it.
Oh yeah.
But yeah.
Well, at least matching, like being able to match that anger that people throw at you with stuff like that other video we watched that is like,
oh
sell it
boy,
as
that fucking video.
Dude, we've got to animate Josh. And the only reason I'm saying that, Josh, and not like everyone, is not just because I only want to pick on you, but
it's all right, man. I know that I know you don't have a lot of material.
I have to watch you this whole time on the podcast because Angie pulls himself off. He just has you looking like a ventriloquist. But it'd be cool if you got mad, like rip roaring, and Dave superimposed like a little fire behind you, or have your hair turn on fire.
Yeah.
Man, I'm looking forward to it. I think this is.
You gonna ask him if we could do one?
Yeah, I'll definitely ask him, man. I think it'd be great, dude. I think it'd be great. We get JB to call in.
Yeah.
And he knows JB.
Right.
But he could do a little character for JB.
Yep.
That'd be a real character.
Yeah. Fucking A. That's a great one.
Yep.
Get JB.
Yeah, for sure, man.
On a skateboard. On the one
Sonic Gardens Radio.
Yeah. Sonic.
All right, guys.
All right, bud.
I'm gonna leave you to it. You playing a song? I'll keep it on. Oh, my screen's black.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna play a song.
Your feed died. Did I do something to my screen?
I think you must have done something.
You must have sat on it.
We're good. We have excellent streaming.
Excellent condition down here.
Excellent streaming.
45 days CNY. Yeah, it's just a black screen on my end.
Unbelievable.
What's going on here?
You must have Spectrum up there.
Yeah. Who knows?
Maybe they shut me down.
No.
You play another Shaka tune? Yeah, they did, dude. They did. The government.
No.
DBI
triggered their sensors.
He's got what do you got in there? Something special.
Me?
Yeah. Yeah, you're the one playing the music.
Oh yeah, no, I was wondering if we dropped. That's all.
No. We didn't.
Yeah, I got nothing. No play button, no pause button.
Yeah, we're on. We're on.
Huh. It's
no,
me.
mine
It's
says
gotta be
something. Mine does say something went wrong.
Oh, really? Then mine's delayed.
No, I got you now.
Yeah.
45 days quarantine. Yeah.
How am I looking?
Yeah, just pick your nose. As soon as I got the delay. Holy shit! I almost fell down the stairs. Jesus.
All right. Yeah. Your son would have been disappointed.
There we go. We're back. At least in that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So song time.
All right. He's gonna play
Shaka song. Stacy, she's requesting it.
Oh, really? Well, then he'll play
Shaka.
one. Shaka.
I gotcha.
Original. He's gonna play.
Awesome.
Play one off this.
All right, guys, go get him. This is fun, man. This is fun.
Yeah.
I'm glad we got a call in to pick on Josh too.
Glad to see you were on the TV. Big star we got today. He even called
I got to
in the
rewatch,
show.
man.
Yeah, you
I'm,
do. You
I'm,
got to
I'm,
rewatch
I'm
it.
cringing to think about what you said during the.
No, I didn't say
airing
anything,
of it.
man. You know I wouldn't. You know I wouldn't say anything. Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, watch it.
We're gonna give you guys.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Call in tomorrow, man.
We're gonna give you guys a cover of the song "Come to Me."
Come to me.
Written by the Black Seeds, performed by Shaka.
Shaka.
You're listening to Sonic Gardens Radio.
Rodeo.
Neads Show.
Yeah.
All right, later, guys.
Later, man.
Later, buddy. Thanks for having us. We out. See you tomorrow. 2046. Woo!
It's a crazy situation, yeah. Got to curb my expectations. The ones that I put on others too. When people try to lay one down on you, you got to step and move to your left and put up your fence. Don't leave yourself so open again. Hands up high, twist to the right. Not gonna let you make me feel uptight, no. Cause I'm giving a little something, but I'm keeping a little something for myself. Something. Hey, we don't have time for your negative eyes. No, we don't. We don't. No, we don't. that positive vibe. Some people, they just don't get it sometimes. So you wanna play it cool, yeah. Now tell me who is the fool. You've got to step and move to your left and put up your fan. Don't leave yourself to open again. Hands up high, twist it to the right. Not gonna let you make me feel uptight, no. 'Cause I'm giving a little something. Keeping a little something for myself, yeah. I'm giving a little something. But I'm keeping a little something.